Okay, let's get started. It is 5 p.m. here in Kiev, and hello everyone around the world, in the US, in Korea, in Asia, Japan, Middle East, Europe. We know we have lots of people dialed in and are looking forward to this update. And I'm very excited to give you all this update. So without further ado, let's get started. Today, we are going to discuss and give you an update on the 1 week we spent in Korea. It was an incredible week. We did an incredible amount of work and accomplished more than we had hoped to accomplish. I have 5 key points I want to cover with you today. So I'm going to bring up the presentation. At the end of the presentation, then I'm going to switch back to the camera and we will continue with your questions and answers. So let's get started. So the trip to Korea, as many of you may know, was part of our overall Asia expansion journey. We started this journey of expanding into Asia late last year and early this year. And we have settled on Korea as a key constituency and key market where we will begin our expansion into the Asian markets. And this trip to Korea was orchestrated by our partners, Vidis partners, who are based in Seoul. And we spent an entire week with them, working from morning till late night in their conference room. And we accomplished an incredible amount of work, and we also did things that we had hoped but had not planned to accomplish. So this is a great opportunity for us to bring you all up to date on what has been done and what we would like to share with you. So we had set for ourselves very clear objectives. We wanted to accomplish one key objective, and we had some stretch goals, aspirational goals. And I would have to say that it was a terrific week, and our recap of this week will give you an idea as to what we accomplished. And then I want to end this webinar with some very important announcements, which are to some degree related or even a direct result of this time we spent in Seoul. So let's get started. So here were our 5 key objectives. The first was to determine that our platform, SolveCare platform, has relevance in the Korean market, that Korean clients, insurance companies, hospitals, employers will be able to benefit from our platform, that we will be able to deliver clear value to them. The second goal we had was to make sure that our company, as an investment opportunity, represents an attractive opportunity to institutional clients, to professional private equity, to professional venture capital, and to strategic investors who could also be users of our platform. And then the bigger goal overarching on top of all that was to really work with Vidis team into our strategy, into our plan, into our positioning and our roadmap. So they understand as clearly as my executive team understands why SolveCare is different, what makes SolveCare relevant, and why we are going to be a global platform, and why Asian communities, Asian consumers, and Asian businesses will adopt it as readily as we are seeing the US and Canada market adopt our platform. We were also hoping to spend some time with strategic regional partners, which I'll talk about. And last but not the least, we were looking to find partnerships that will help us deliver business-to-business relevant content and to help drive better communication and better public relations in the region. As you all know, we have a regional strategy. Our goal is to take SolveCare into one region at a time and develop that region strongly, and then move to the next region and develop that strongly. So since we have selected Asia and particularly Korea as a region of focus, we want to make sure that we have appropriate content partners in that area. So these were our 5 goals. If we had accomplished one, it would have been a great trip. If we accomplished 1, 2, and 3, it would have been a remarkable trip. To have done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, certainly I am thrilled beyond words. So let's dive into them. So the first most important question that we were trying to address in our own minds is our relevance to the Korean healthcare sector. And of course, those of you who live and work in Korea know that basic healthcare is subsidized. Primary healthcare is available through primarily hospitals. and that you typically buy insurance for supplemental benefits. So to that degree, basic healthcare is subsidized. We all understand that. But when insurers sell supplemental insurance in the Korean market, they have all the same issues as insurance companies in the US have. They need to acquire group clients. They need to acquire consumers. They need to handle the availability and utilization of specialty and procedural care, which is beyond primary care. They need to have efficient billing and payment systems that also prevent overutilization and fraud. They have to establish the same quality and outcome measures as are prevalent in Europe or in US. And most importantly, they are looking to retain the consumer through engagement, empowerment, and satisfaction, because consumers are their lifeblood. And they have to do everything they can to engage you and I into a more effective utilizer of healthcare from a perspective of supplemental and tertiary care. So just because basic healthcare is subsidized doesn't take away the issues. It just means that those issues now have a very unique Korean flavor. So I'm very pleased to say that we spent a lot of time speaking with directly our potential clients. And we heard from them what they are interested in, what they want immediately, what they want to offer in the long term. And there were more than a few things. In fact, almost everything that we are building for insurance companies around the world, there was one way or the other relevance to the insurers in Korea as well. We further then took the concepts and the use cases that we heard from our potential clients in Seoul and tested them with top consultants who are in healthcare, who are in fintech, insurtech, health tech, who are working with these insurance companies. And we heard the same thing. If you can do things that SolveCare platform does, then there is tremendous value to be had for both business and consumer in Korea. So that was really important because end of the day, our success in Korea and in Asia depends upon having local relevant use cases that both clients and consumers will use and pay for. And once we established that, we became really clear that this is going to be our expansion strategy. Our opening salvo in Asia is going to start in Korea. So this is very, very relevant. And if we accomplished just this goal, it would have been an amazing trip. But we didn't stop here. But this was a very good start. So we established that our platform brings relevance and value to insurance companies, to care delivery systems, primarily hospitals, to consumers of all ages, particularly the aging population, and regulators who want to make sure that the consumer is being treated properly and that the insurance company is delivering the right benefit to the consumer in the right way. So minimally, the use cases that we see leading with are certainly insurance-centric, but we also see use cases around hospitals in terms of care continuity, in terms of disease management, in terms of prescription management, readmission, specialty care, procedural care, and how insurance can and should pay for it, and how the consumer experiences the care journey when things get beyond a single visit to the doctor or the hospital. When we realized that we have clear, definable value to be delivered to the Korean clients and consumers, then we started to explore, okay, who are the local partners we need to have? Because to be successful in any healthcare system, be it US or Canada or UK or Australia, Korea or Japan, we are going to need local partners. And starting from the bottom up, we need resellers and integrators who can work with our platform and local systems. We also need to find partners who can help drive consumer adoption of wallet and services, applications or technologies that are already in the hands of the consumer that we can piggyback on. For example, like a messenger or another popular app that the consumer is already comfortable with. We also need to make sure that we have local identity management chains as partners who can bring to us relevant identity management using local mechanisms around identity verification and certification. And overarchingly, if we have other good blockchain solutions in the market that are delivering complementary value, then that makes a lot of sense for us too. So these are the 4 areas of focus: blockchain platform companies that bring some relevant capabilities that can support and enhance the delivery of SolveCare platform in terms of connection to the existing systems, identity management, consumer adoption and consumer applications, and resellers and integrators. And we were able to meet with a variety of companies in Seoul and in the Silicon Valley of Seoul, where we identified partners who can help move each of these areas forward. So we are now in the discussion and in contract signing with these partners or partnership agreements, which gives us one or more of these key partnerships in Korea. And again, it becomes a template for expansion into other countries as well. What we do in Korea, we will replicate in China or in Indonesia or Vietnam or Hong Kong. So this is really a blueprint to regional expansion. And this blueprint we are perfecting in Korea first. The other thing that we realize that we have to do and we would like to do is to deliver content in local language to local terminology so that we have a regional communication strategy and we have a regional content strategy. Because if you have a really relevant use case, if you have a really relevant partner and a client, you still need to make sure that they understand how to use our platform, how to promote our wallet to the consumers, how to educate their internal teams on coordinating care or coordinating benefits or coordinating payments. And the more content we produce in the local language, the better. So we organized our communication strategy into 5 areas. Client communication, or what we call B2B track, consumer education, as we call B2C track, investor education, which is the B2I track, the token community, which is the B2T track, and then public relations and media through partnerships, which is the PR track. So for each of these, we looked at partners who can help us drive B2B content, B2C content, B2I content, B2T content, and then PR content. And this is very important because you never want to be silent and misunderstood or have people form an opinion about what you do and what you don't do based on absence of information. Our goal is to communicate and over-communicate instead of under-communicating, and to communicate using local terminology and certainly local language. So this is a really big part of our expansion strategy that we establish clearly with our partners Vidus, and also this is one of the key questions that the investors asked us, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that brings us to a couple of very important announcements. Once we left Korea, we understood that our communication and public relations strategy has to truly be global. And we are very pleased to announce that SolveCare is now using Voxman, which is one of the leading communications and public relations firm. They have deep expertise in blockchain sector, and they have represented some of the best known blockchain platforms in the world. And we have hired them out of their Dublin office, but they have a Singapore presence and they have a New York presence. So it allows us to cover North America, Europe, and Asia from a single agency. And this is really important because we want to make sure that the same agency, the same team, has the ability to place content and communicate to audiences that are completely different in nature, but the underlying message has to be consistent. What is our platform? What are our use cases? Who do we serve? How do the consumers use our wallet? And what value we bring to them? That message doesn't change from New York to Singapore, but the way you deliver it has to change. And therefore, we wanted to really make sure that we have a global organization working with us. So the Voxman has already been engaged. They are already working on a number of upcoming announcements that they are handling. And we are already seeing a tremendous value in partnering with a highly professional organization. And I can certainly tell you that Maria is a lot happier about the PR activity since Voxman became a partner with us. When you look further though, even though we have now a global partner in PR, it's also important to understand that even with that global reach, we are still going to need regional content partners. And those regional content partners have to be much narrower in their focus, almost country by country. So we are very pleased to say that I met with a long existing partner, Chains Asia, in person while I was in Korea. And we asked them, and they agreed to become our content generation company in Korea, with the goal being that they will develop, in close coordination with SolveCare, B2B audience relevant content. Think about the fact that if you are a CEO of a major insurance company and you want to understand what SolveCare can do for you or your providers or your consumers or your groups or your staff, you need content that is written in a way that you can understand and absorb and decide. So we cannot use the terminology of the US to communicate to the executive of a Korean insurance company. And the objective of engaging Chains Asia is to really take our platform into understandable use cases and descriptions that will help anyone who is looking at a platform either as a client or as a consumer or as a sponsor or as a regulator understand what we do, how we do it, and why it brings value. So between the combination of Voxman and Chains Asia, we are covering the macro and the micro content delivery. Macro from a region perspective, micro from a specific healthcare system perspective. And of course, we will do the same in other markets where we will partner with local content generation companies that can help us drive clear messaging around SolveCare. Very pleased about that. I think this is something that typically companies overlook. Technology companies get very focused on building the technology. Marketing companies get very focused on promoting the brand. But in the end, if your client doesn't understand what you do for them, then all of this is of no value. So having clear content partners is almost as essential as having a really good platform. So now we have both, and I'm looking forward to what we can do together. Now, going back to the agenda, one of the key objectives was to spend time with Vidus and to help them understand the SolveCare platform. So first, we were very pleased with the attention, the investment of time, and the intelligence and the expertise that the Vidus team demonstrated. This was our really first intense face-to-face week. And it really exceeded our expectations. And if I may say this, I have worked with a lot of investment bankers in the US and UK, and Vidus is second to none. They did a great job of supporting us, of understanding us, challenging us, diving deep, coming up with great ideas, telling us where things didn't make sense. And as a result of this 1 week in their office, and these were long days and late nights, I feel that they really helped us refine our business model and made it better. What we knew and understood about SolveCare going in was already pretty impressive. But when we leave that office on Friday evening, I felt very clearly that I had gone through an intense review and refinement of what SolveCare is doing, why we are relevant. Just to give you an idea of what we discussed and what we dove into, we talked about the adoption model. We talked about the revenue. We talked about the profitability curve. We talked about how the company will grow and how will we acquire clients and what are the organic and inorganic opportunities, meaning what can we grow ourselves and what do we need to do in terms of acquisitions. Why do we have such a significant first mover advantage? How do we convert that first mover advantage to a permanent structural advantage? What barriers to entry there are for the competition, and is there any competition? And if there isn't, when will competition appear? Where will it likely to come from? And how do we stay ahead? And really significantly, we jumped into how will the Asia expansion plan pay out? Will we start in Korea? Yes. Will we expand to Singapore or Hong Kong? Where are we going next? And how fast can we move? And then ultimately, it boils down to strategic differentiation, right? In the end, it all boils down to, are we different? Are we going to be able to both plan and execute better than others? And how does that translate into an investor who says, now is the best time to invest in SolveCare? Because if I wait, I'm going to miss out. And that exactly is what we wanted to establish for our own self. We played the role of an investor, an institutional investor. We pretended to be a strategic investor. We pretended to be a client. And we went through this role playing for hours sometimes days to get to the answer. And all these questions shaped our planning, shaped our thinking to the point where we feel like we have further refined the tools. We have sharpened the knife even more. Now we have clear understanding of how Asia is different, but how Asia is same. What we must do differently, but what we must continue to do globally the same way. And one thing that's clear is that the platform is a global platform. We just need to make sure that we have a regional strategy around how to apply the platform to each region, whether it's subsidized healthcare system or completely unsubsidized, doesn't matter. Population by population, group by group, segment by segment, we can break into practically every healthcare system in the world and add value. Once we had gone through this intense activity for many days, then we put together a clear plan. So what do we need to do now that we have this very clear, sharp focus on raising investment in Asia? And this is really important. We made a clear decision that we are going to allow the investors primarily from the Asian subcontinent or continent, and the objective being that they would have to qualify under the rules that govern the Asian investment model. So we're going to limit this round of equity to those who qualify under the laws of Hong Kong so that we can make sure that we are fully compliant. And in doing so, we put together a game plan, board approval, investment memorandum, investor outreach and roadshow, business, legal, and financial diligence, negotiations with preferred investors, and then sign and close. So Vidis is driving this. They are supported by Irina, who is our executive project manager, driving this, this intense level of activity. But I have to say that the energy and the excitement and just the absolute sheer exuberance in the room was amazing. Everybody essentially talked about how this is a great team collaboration and coordination, and that we are making progress that normally takes months and days. So this is what the roadmap looks like for the investment. So we hired Vidis in April. That's when the project was kicked off. We did the kickoff in detail last week, including the testing the market for investment appetite. We are now in the stages of getting board approvals for that. We are going to then finalize and get a second approval from the board on the capital raise amount and the enterprise valuation, which I'm very pleased with, where we are and how we are handling that process. It's always difficult to get an agreement on valuation. The entrepreneurs think that your company is worth Amazon. The investor thinks your company is worth more like a startup. And the truth lies somewhere in between. And you have to be mature enough to find that common ground where you're not leaving too much value on the table, but you're also leaving enough value on the table for the investors to actually want to invest. And finding that balance is hard. It depends upon the trust you have in your investment banker. And I am absolutely fully comfortable with where Vidis is leading us, because at the end of the day, that trust is earned, and they have certainly earned our trust. Following that, there will be an investment memorandum that will be published. This is primarily the task of Neil and Jonathan and his team and their team members. And this is an important thing. We will also look at, but as part of this journey, we will look to relocate the head office of SolveCare from Estonia to Asia. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And we hope to close this round by September. Now that's really, really fast. April, May, June, July, August, September is basically a little bit under 6 months. And typically these projects take longer. But given the work and the quality of work we are doing with Vidis and the quality of relationships they have and how much they already understand about us, the support of our board, and the focus that our team has put on it, this is achievable. This is very aggressive, but it's very achievable. And we're going to do everything we can to make it happen. Because we have so much opportunity in front of us that we don't want to lose a day. And as one of the senior partners at Vidis, Neil, said to me, you have the tiger by the tail, now you have to ride it, and there is no way that we can go slow. We must move fast and we must move aggressive. And that's what we're going to do. So, as an announcement, I want to come back to the statement that SolveCare has gone to its board and requested approval to relocate headquarters from Tallinn, Estonia to Asia by end of 2019. Again, very aggressive timelines, but we believe that we can get it done. Of course, there are legal, financial, regulatory items to be dealt with and to be dealt with properly. But we believe that if we start now, in the next 6 to 7 months, we can accomplish this goal. And that would essentially and firmly position SolveCare in the long run as a company based and operating out of Asia, but serving the whole globe. That is our goal, because we believe that we'll be better served in the long run from an IPO perspective, from a business development, from a client acquisition, from having the maximum number of CareWallet users in the world. We need to be close to the big population centers, and we need to be able to serve that population centers effectively and locally. And that's what we're going to do. So SolveCare will be moving its headquarters from Estonia to Asia, and we have narrowed it down to 2 or 3 cities where we are looking at, and we're looking at whether they are the right cities from an IPO perspective as well. So stand by on more news on that, but the decision is made, and we will now execute on this decision. Let's move to the last part of the update. So as we establish the fact that Korean clients are going to need and want care administration networks, and as we establish the fact that Korean consumers will benefit from CareWallets, and if we can use the word Korean and Asian synonymously, and you can say Asian clients and Asian consumers, because we are not limited to Korea, but today we are focused on our trip to Seoul. But I want you to hear this statement in the context of Asia as a whole. When we think about Korean clients and Korean consumers needing to access care networks through CareWallets, clearly the availability of Solve token becomes very important. So we need to make sure that Solve token is available in the local markets in a manner that they're comfortable buying, and they are able to use their local preferred secure trading platforms, and that they don't have to sort of jump across country boundaries to be able to acquire Solve tokens, because they are fundamentally needed both as a platform token and also as a network currency. So whether you are a network platform as a platform sponsor, or you're a network currency user because you're paying someone for network services, which meaning that you're either a B2B client or a B2C user, both need the Solve token. So we have to make sure that both B2B institutions and B2C consumers have access to Solve token in a way that they are comfortable, that they are able to buy these tokens to access the healthcare services in our platform, be it transportation, be it pharmacy, be it access to physicians or specialty care, be it second opinion, be it pharmacy products at a discount. There are numerous opportunities here, and all of them need access to Solve token. So we spent quite a bit of time while we were in Korea looking at what are the ways we can improve access to the Solve token and do so in a proper way, in a regulated way. So we have decided that the best way to improve access to Solve token is to allow it to be accessible through fiat. So we are now committed to and have agreed to the access to Solve and pairing of Solve with fiat. And we are going to do that not just in one country, but we have decided to move forward and link Solve to fiat in multiple leading currencies and on multiple trading platforms. And that is now agreed, and the actual availability of Solve with fiat will come out as we finish the appropriate documentation and signatures with the trading platforms. So we're very pleased to say that, because so far Solve has chosen to be a pure cryptocurrency only tradable token, and our view was that that is more appropriate given where we came from, and we had avoided the fiat as a linkage because we wanted to make sure that we have clear understanding of the value proposition of Solve token, and we also understood that fiat really does add value. But end of the day, we are clear, having spoken to multiple people, that the fiat pair is essential, is necessary, and we have decided to proceed with it, and that availability of Solve with fiat is going to be in very short order. So I want to then summarize by saying that we've always said that we want to be a global healthcare platform and a global healthcare company. And we've always said that we will prove the model in the US and we'll take it globally. The question was always, can you take what is proven in the US to the rest of the world? Is it possible? The answer today is absolutely yes. It is possible, it's on the roadmap, and we're doing it. And like everything else, we plan, we focus, we execute, and we repeat. So at this point in time, in my mind, there is no question that we are a global platform and that our regional strategy is in place and that we are expanding ourselves into country by country, healthcare system by healthcare system. And we're very pleased and delighted and honored that Korea is our first significant regional expansion play. And we really appreciate the support of all the partners, certainly Vidis, certainly the clients we spoke to who were enthusiastic about our platform, certainly people that are supporting us in the community. We really appreciate everybody's collaboration and input for us to get to this point where we know this is where we want to expand. I appreciate all your support. I appreciate all your attention, and I look forward to engaging with you in the next few weeks as we have much to say and much to tell you as we wrap up the next few milestones. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.